This is Fantology.
You may have heard of us.
All right, what's up, hedge knights and princes? This is Steven, your host with Phantology Podcast. I have my lifelong friend Josh on, and we're talking about the remainder of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, the TV show. We already reviewed the first couple episodes. We've talked about the book a bit, but let's just kind of do full spoilers, full review of season one of the show.
Yeah, man, I am so happy the show is good. I really have been enjoying like all the Game of Thrones properties. I just finished my rewatch of Game of Thrones with my wife. I've enjoyed, I think, more than most people, House of the Dragon, but I was worried coming into the show. I read the book right before I came into it and just was a little bit hesitant about how good it was really going to be. I know it was getting some hype, but I don't know. I just came in very, very not pessimistic, but trying to keep my expectations low for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense in that it's a smaller scale story and maybe doesn't feel as much of, Game of Thrones, you think epic, House of Dragon, the same thing. And so here we've got a very different take on Westeros. So I can see some uncertainty coming in.
Yeah. I mean, I expected a certain level of quality just because we get quality in, 95% of Game of Thrones material. But
Hmm.
I just I don't know. My expectations were a little bit low. And so I thoroughly loved my viewing experience of this. I think every episode was great. I'm excited to talk about them. I know that there's, a few things that are a little bit controversial that we can talk about, but nothing huge. Some interesting directions that they might be taking the future seasons, that I think
Hmm.
might be hinted at a little bit. But just overall, just a really great show. I think I don't know if it's a return to form because it's something new for Game of Thrones, but I think I've enjoyed this more than than a lot of Game of Thrones, especially recently. Like House of the Dragon has been good, and hard to compare the two, but this was just so thoroughly enjoyable and not weighed down by a lot of baggage that I felt like House of the Dragon was weighed down by, that it was just so much fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I think key here and a lot of the success of the other Westeros shows is sticking to the books as written and outlined by George R. R. Martin. And the showrunner is apparently a purist here. Sounds like the actor who plays Dunk is a big fan, and they involved George quite a bit. It just seems like the recipe for success for most of these adaptations. That we like the book. Let's mostly stick with the book. I mean, changes are fine and sometimes need to be made, but in this case, they didn't need to, and I think it really worked.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is this one, the stories were they were contained enough that you didn't have to make huge changes to get a good adaptation. You know what I mean? Like I feel like
Right.
I haven't read the House of the Dragon source material, so like it's harder for me to comment on that, but it just feels like there's so much scope to that story that you almost have to take a little bit of changes to it. But
Yeah, well, that's hard because Fire and Blood is really just an outline of the history of the whole thing. So it requires a lot of filling in the gaps.
right, okay, that makes sense. And then this one they just, they told basically the same story with a few things added, a little bit of backstory added. But
Uh-huh.
not only did they tell the story, but they had like exact lines of dialogue just lifted from the page. And I think that that made for a much better final product, um, it would stand out to me, in almost every episode, I can think of, just kind of lines that were taken directly from the book and implemented in a way that felt natural. And so I think that goes to both showing how well the rest of the show is written, but also the purist side of things too, of saying, hey, we're going to stick really close to the source material.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I'm right there with you. And it doesn't make sense for every show. I mean, the recent one that comes to mind is Wheel of Time. They changed a ton of things from Wheel of Time. Ultimately, it wasn't super successful and it only lasted three seasons. But you could also say, you have to change some things because that series does not work nearly as well to just adapt it one to one. It's way too big. It doesn't fit onto the small screen. But they probably made too many changes, right?
Yeah, it
You would
matters what
think
changes
that,
you make.
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
So like adding a little bit of backstory to Dunk, that's a fine change. I think most people are okay with it. Adding a few filler scenes going around the attorney, I think people are fine with that because like again, there's not a whole you need a few scenes like that and when to really build out some of the characters that would be more relevant
Hmm.
later. And so, they think that they were really intentional with the changes or additions. They didn't really have very many subtractions, things that they cut from the book that I can really think of that stood out to me. And so it was just, yeah, really well done adaptation as well as show. They didn't sacrifice the show to make a good adaptation. They just did it perfectly. I don't know. It was great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I guess we're just fanboying over the show here. But what stood out to you especially? Like if you had to name your favorite scene, element, character, yeah,
I
what was it?
yeah, I think that the very best scene of the show was when oh shoot, I'm blanking on his name.
Baylor?
Baylor. Yeah, it was when Baylor
Uh-huh.
volunteered to be the last knight or the last person on Dunk's team.
Uh-huh.
I can't think, but that was my favorite scene in the book. And man, did the show nail it! Just like all the feels, just I almost teared up. Just like oh, like yes, there are true knights left. Like yes, there is
Uh-huh.
justice, and it was so good. Like they just nailed that so well. And again, like the book did a lot. Like they followed the book, and that's why you knew it was going to hit because you knew that they were setting it up. But man, did they pull it off well.
Yeah. Yeah, also my favorite part of the show, and they chose the correct moment to bring in the theme and really, hit you in the feels with the and it works too because you know that he's not going to survive this. And so it's
If
like
you
the
if you're a book reader, yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. It's the exact like Westeros Game of Thrones brand. It's the honorable guy doing what he should, and then ultimately fate steps in and it doesn't work out. And I think that's the case for, obviously Ned Stark and other characters in Westeros. So this totally makes sense. It's the right time to bring in the theme, and that is like the moment of the show for me for this
yeah,
season.
100%. And man, did they pull off. Like the actor, I don't know if I've seen him in anything else, but he did such
Uh-huh.
a good job. Just every scene with him, he had this gravitas to him, that that you just knew that he was doing what he was duty bound to do in some ways. Like he couldn't really stop the trial because that was the law, but like that he was going to do everything he could to see like actual justice served. It was so good, man. I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was super impressed with that actor too. I looked up, don't remember his name offhand, but I think he's mostly a theater guy, but
Uh,
he's actually playing Cornelius Fudge in the
is he?
upcoming Harry Potter
They've
redo.
already
Yeah,
casted Fudge. I mean, yeah,
apparently. Yeah.
cool, cool.
Uh-huh.
Well, we'll see how he does Fudge. But if it's man, Fudge is nothing like Baylor. They're like the opposites. One's a terrible leader. One's a great leader.
Uh-huh.
I guess neither one of them really get to rule for very long, and Fudge kind of
Yeah.
fudges everything up. But
Uh-huh.
okay, fair enough. Okay.
Just a couple other notes on Baylor. So I saw a thing where George R. R. Martin was asked, what are a couple things or what are some things in Westeros history where if things had gone differently, like the fate of Westeros would have really been changed. And one of the things he picked out was this moment, was Baylor Breakspear dying here, because after this, it's kind of, I mean, the Targaryens were already in a bit of a decline after the events of Fire and Blood, all the dragons are dead. But from here on out, I mean, they had a few more years, and obviously we know Aegon ends up being a decent king himself, but it doesn't go much longer than that because the Mad King is shortly afterwards. And it seems like this guy Baelor really would have been a good king. And even in the next two Dunk and Egg stories, the king who steps in is not as good. Or the other, actually, I don't remember what the no, the previous king is still there, but it's Bloodraven that's basically running the show, and there's a drought, and no one's happy, and they have this second Blackfire rebellion. Anyway, all this stuff happens, and if Baelor had still been around, and he could have, solidified the throne a little bit more. Maybe, down the road, events of A Song of Ice and Fire are probably different. So yeah, this guy dying is super key for
Wow.
all of history.
It was super interesting. After last night's episode, I was talking to Mackenzie, and she was like, there's just not very many things that is just like unanimously a good thing happening in Game of Thrones, where it's like everybody is happy it happens. But she was like, maybe like Joffrey dying would be like the good thing that happened. I'm like, is it like because when Joffrey died, like that's what made Tyrion leave, and then or that's what got Tyrion got accused of it and put on trial, and that's what led to
Uh-huh.
Tywin's death. And I'm like, look, if Tyrion was still if Tywin was still around and Tyrion was still like an advisor when Daenerys got there, I don't know, maybe they could have either iced Cersei out or like found a way, like it could have gone totally differently. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like that might have been one of the worst things that could have happened, even though Joffrey was a prick and we were all happy to see him die.
Yeah.
Like it was, could have been bad. So it's just interesting how this world, like even what you think like a great thing that happens, like Joffrey dying or like Baylor stepping in to protect the honor and dignity and justice, like they end up being maybe the worst things for the kingdom.
Yeah. I would go with Ramsay Snow being defeated and
Maybe
killed.
Ramsay Snow being defeated is the
Yeah.
unanimously best thing. Yeah,
Uh,
okay.
which HBO actually tweeted out uh, a gif of John killing Ram, or he doesn't kill him, the dogs do. But that scene at the end where Ramsay's firing the arrows at John and he's got the shield up and he goes in and starts beating him up. So they tweeted that out with the captions of the Breaking Bad fans were Ramsay and and John was blocking the shots and then he comes in and starts beating. So John is the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms fans.
Dude, can I just say that this is such a juvenile and childish little war that we have going on between Game of Thrones fans and Breaking Bad fans? It's like, come on, guys. Like, they're both great shows. They're totally different in so many ways, yet both are excellent shows. Why are we review
Uh-huh.
bombing each other? It's so dumb.
Yeah,
It's so
right.
dumb. I hate it.
Like both can be good.
Yeah,
That's okay.
yeah. And like, is your pride really so wrapped up that like if your show that you like more doesn't have the higher IMDb like ranking, that it's like one less arsenal that you get to use in your online
Uh,
skirmishes that you have against other fandoms. It's so like juvenile. It's crazy.
yeah, but apparently enough people are involved in this to actually move the numbers significantly, which is insane to
Well,
me.
I mean, I don't doubt it. Like there's only, well, I don't know how many reviews, but most IMDb ratings are like in the maybe tens of thousands of views of ratings.
Yeah.
I guess. So it wouldn't be that hard if you
Uh,
have like a subreddit with like 100K members to be like, hey, let's go review bomb this. Oh,
yeah, don't people have things to do in their life? I mean, come
dude,
on.
I don't know, man. It is wild. And it's just like, I don't know. It's for one, it seems like IMDb should have some sort of filter where if it's not like the release day of an episode, that if a certain number of
Yeah, this just
ratings
starts
come in, that
throttling. Yeah.
it throttles or like. And who knows? There might be like it might be botted. It might not all be discrete users. Like it's probably not too
Uh-huh.
hard to spin up a bot that'll, just
Yeah.
rate review bomb
Nowadays
things.
AI will just do that for you. So,
Yeah. Oh man. Anyway, all right. Well, that's so dumb. Can I talk about a more positive thing when it comes to fandoms?
yeah.
Man, seeing this show being like universally loved by the fandom has just made my heart happy. You know, like
Like
everyone
it's
likes it.
possible.
There,
Everyone's
there's
coming together. Uh-huh.
there's critiques. People didn't like everything. People had their issues with it, but everybody I think recognized that it was like a really good effort.
Uh-huh.
And nothing seemed mean spirited in a way that so much other online discourse. And I don't know, it's just a good show. So I guess if you just make a good show, then people like it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So going back to our chat about the upcoming Cosmere adaptations, it is possible for non-toxicity in the fandom.
I guess, man. I guess. But again, like I think that this was just people putting down their swords a little bit. I don't know. It
Hmm.
is hard because again, there's not so much in the Song of Ice and Fire world that like can like could have an adaptation, you know what I mean? So like I think that the easy stuff to adapt that would be really easy to get right in the Cosmere, people would get mad just because that's what's being adapted. You know what I mean? Like I think
Yeah.
Tress would be like an incredibly easy adaptation to do well, but everyone would be upset that that Tress is getting an adaptation before Stormlight or Mistborn or
Sure.
whatever, you know. So
Yeah.
in
So
and of
we're on our
itself,
third. Yeah, you're saying we're on our third property here. Well, not property, but our third story here.
yeah.
And people are just not as attached to Dunk and Egg as they are to all these other characters that we've already seen play out.
Yeah. Yeah. And just the stories are easy. They're an easy story to adapt, you know, like we talked about at the beginning.
Hmm.
You can follow the story and it's laid out. It's almost like it's not really a screenplay. I'm sure there's plenty of talent from the screen, you know, from the screen people that did the screenplays and everything, but like, you know, the building blocks are right there for you in a way that like it isn't really for the
Yeah.
Cosmere.
Yeah. Another note, the other thing I was going to say about Baelor was so there's a thing in Westeros where a non-silver-haired Targaryen never actually becomes the king.
Oh,
And so that follows through there. And if you're at all aware of other instances of this, you can probably maybe piece together some other things that you might see in other
yeah.
shows.
Yeah. I'm trying.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I mean, let's go real quick. Maybe go through the highlights of the episodes. Maybe not rank them, but we did like a review of the
Sure.
first two, so maybe we can skip the first two, but talk about
Mm,
three, four, five, six.
yeah, I mean, three, the big thing is three's kind of the inciting
Yeah.
action of the whole thing, honestly. I mean, the first two episodes were good, but it was mostly setting the stage and vibes and stuff. And then three is where now Arion comes out and breaks Tansel's fingers and Dunk makes his big mistake of sort. I don't mean debatable, right? But he gets himself in hot water, and then we get the reveal of Egg.
Yeah. That reveal was done really well, I thought. You know,
Uh-huh.
I think there were totally enough breadcrumbs along the way for people to pick up what was going on. But like if you're just kind of a casual viewer, then I think it would
Uh-huh.
have hit well. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think if you hadn't read the books, I don't think there were enough clues to say this kid is the prince, but like definitely you realize there's something more to this kid.
I
And
think
then
you could
once it's
have
revealed,
I
eh.
think you could have. I mean, uh, at least that episode because like
Well,
they did
yeah.
things like talking about like oh the prince is missing and then like it cut to egg. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's
That's
pretty.
right.
If
That's
you're like
right.
an attentive viewer, you would probably have been able to pretty like
Uh-huh.
not to say easily, but like it would have occurred to. I think it just follows Sanderson's like 10-80-10 rule where 10 people had like no idea like even after they reveal they're like wait there's another prince out there and then like 80% of the
Uh-huh.
people were caught off guard and then 10% of people had picked up on it. I think it followed that distribution probably pretty
Right,
well.
right, right. Yeah, I forgot that they actually did the thing where Makar was like, my sons are missing. And then, yeah, obviously, here's Egg. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I guess probably more people picked up on it than I thought.
Yeah.
All right. And then, so going into episode four, this is where Dunk is imprisoned. We've got the whole showdown with the Targaryens and the invoking of the trial by seven, trial of seven, whatever that's called.
Yep. That felt a little bit tedious, like going through all the politics of that. But again, you have to explain it well enough so that people understand what's going to happen. But
Hmm.
also, like, you know, you don't want to have a whole law course about Westeros, like, explained to you, you know? So
Right,
I think
right.
they handled that as well as they could. I think another standout from this episode is just anytime Dunk and Egg are on the screen together, they play off each other so well. Like I just love how they
Hmm.
interact. The comedic timing is great. The serious moments are just as good. Like they do a great job together.
Yeah. Yeah, and props to the kid who played Egg. His name's like Dexter. Soul Answer, something like that. He's got a cool name, and he did a great job.
Yeah, phenomenal job. They all did a great job. Like Dunk did a great job,
Yeah,
Egg did a great job. All the Baylor again, we talked about him. He did a great
right.
job. Like area, like
Yeah.
they all just
And
they
the,
were awesome.
the guy playing Dunk had like no acting experience. He was a former rugby player, right?
Really, I didn't know
I
that.
think it was something like that, yeah.
Wow,
Or I mean, he probably has some experience, but this is his first bigger thing. Yeah,
wow.
let us know in the comments if I missed something there. But yeah, it is pretty impressive how there's just so many people that are interested in acting. I mean, there's so many stories to be told now that you can get a pretty good cast for almost anything.
I suppose so, but
Yeah.
man, they did well.
Mm.
Um,
The other thing that episode four had was like we thought from episodes one and two, the establishment of Dunk's fellow seven, six, right, that are gonna fight with him. This is where this pays off because now we know who these guys are, at least a little bit. Although the two, oh, what were they? The two guys, were they Beesbury's? No, Beesbury was the cousins, right?
yeah, yep,
But the two other guys, the one guy that broke his leg and was fighting, and they had the same first name, if I remember
yeah,
right, from the book. But anyway, those guys we didn't know as much, but ultimately they didn't really matter, and we're only going to focus on the important ones. But anyway, I think the establishment of his fellow fighters was good and paid off here.
yeah. I do too. Yep. Episode we already talked about Baylor. I mean, I think the standout of the entire show that was
Uh,
fantastic. Episode five, man, was brutal. Just from the flashback. Oh, with what was her name? Was it Faye? No, it's something.
yeah,
Sage, not Sage.
something like that.
Yeah,
Honestly, I'm not sure if she's referenced at all in the book or
I don't
not, or
remember her
if
being
like
referenced.
yeah, I don't remember either.
It
But
was fine though.
anyway,
That's
yeah.
totally that's what I'm totally fine with them adding that to give a little bit of
Uh,
depth to him. Yeah.
I was, yeah, so I mean, all in all, episode five was great. It was incredibly brutal, and I think it really fit the setting here. Afterwards, I do kind of wonder, how does Dunk ever have any interest in being involved in this type of thing again, which he does in the third story. So they'll have to explain that because I feel like this guy's just got major PTSD after that. But you know, nonetheless, and then with the backstory thing, I, I liked it okay, but it was a little odd to me where like we're in the heat of the battle and then like long extended break. I guess they made it work by bringing back his what's his name? Sir
Arla,
Pennyworth. Yeah, Arlen.
Tree,
Yeah,
Arlen Pennytree. Yeah.
Pennytree. Yeah, they brought him back and they said, get up, and that was kind of the lead back into the tourney action. But for a second there, I was like, oh man, like I kind of want to see what's happening in the tourney, and now we're doing the backstory.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just for a lot of for a lot of people, that backstory helps you connect. It just does. Like, because we don't really have any backstory to Dunk. You know what I mean? Like, we just kind
Uh-huh.
of see him as a good-hearted, bumbling knight a little bit. And so I think that this backstory of this kind of loss and this is what gave him hope was being a knight. I think it did well to serve his character.
Like if they didn't have the backstory, I would have been totally fine with it. But I can see what you're saying.
I think you would have, but I think that people that care more about character wouldn't have been as okay. Like I think it added a lot for people. I think I like it more being there than I think I would have without it being there.
Mm. Her name
But I
was
think
Rafe, by the way. I looked it
Rafe,
up.
okay.
Uh-huh.
But I think I'm more a little bit more of a character reader than you are.
I mean, it depends on who the character is. I like character a lot.
Yeah, yeah. But
I mean, I felt like Dunk was a really established character. Maybe because I already read the books, really had a grasp on Dunk already through that. I felt like I already kind of knew his backstory. But so seeing it play out was just, okay, interesting, but I already kind of know that. But yeah, I'm not like bent out of shape about it. It was good.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it overall was a net positive to have in the season. I could see a little bit of
Uh,
quibbling to where it was in the season, like maybe it could have gone to spice up one of the first two episodes that were a little bit slower. Um,
yeah. But on the other hand, I think that was my issue because I was like, I want to see this melee. Like this is crazy right now. And then right as it begins, we're taking a break. But that also kind of makes the episode stronger because everything else is going to be awesome because it's all the action. So we can maybe sneak something in here that's, if you had backstory and the setup happening all in the first two episodes, then you're like kind of dragging along. So putting it in here, I think, works better for pacing.
that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
But the rest of that melee, man, that was so brutal. Just everything. Like you saw
uh,
just the amount of blows that he took, like the amount of blows he
yeah,
dealt, all the background stuff that was going on was also incredibly brutal, just
yeah,
oh man.
yeah.
Yeah.
The way that they made it so visceral, especially at the end when everything, like all the audio was messed up, you couldn't hear what anyone was actually saying, like that really got you into it.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm trying to put myself in the position of not having read the books. Like, I mean, I don't think anyone really thought he was going to die because, I mean, it's pretty well publicized that there's going to be more seasons. But
Uh,
I don't know. Like I think there would have been if you were just going in completely blind and maybe completely blind to the story, but also like knowing that in Game of Thrones main characters die a lot. You know what I mean? I could have
right.
maybe been concerned for Dunk at that point.
Yeah, I think a lot of people had to have been, even if they knew there's more seasons. I mean, like you said, Game of Thrones is kind of famous for this, so could have died.
Yeah.
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 He took a lot of wounds that, I mean, I don't understand how he doesn't have a lot of infections right now.
I mean, it sounds like he did. The
Yeah.
Maester, the Maester was like, dude, he's gonna die. And then what's his face? The Baratheon dude was just like, oh, I'll be all right.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So made it through, pulled it out, but yeah, I think I still liked episode four better because that one moment was the peak for me.
Yeah.
But three and five were both really strong, I think.
Yeah. I think it would go for me four. Let's see. Probably four, three, no, 4, 5, 3, like 1, 6, 2, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like
I
that.
think. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you there. Yeah.
Yeah. But then
I
episode 6, I think was good. I mean, I think that there's the big change that we got to talk about. But other than that, like uh there's some definite tension with Egg, like going up to try and kill is his name Arion? Is that his name? Am I just making that
yeah,
up? Yeah.
Arion Bright Flame.
Man, that even got my palm sweating a little bit.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that was nice. And then you can also see that Makar was a good guy. I think he's kind of questionable in what we've seen so far, but he knows that Arion kind of sucks and that Aeg is a good guy and his other son's a drunk. And so I think Dunk's words there really did resonate with him. Of the words being, Arion and Darian, I think his name, right? They never slept in a ditch, and Arion's beef was always nice and tender and bloody.
Yeah. Man, that's as a father, that it just is so hard, man. Like I couldn't imagine being asked to make that decision, like of being like sending your son, knowing that knowing that your two older sons are like kind of screw ups, and then and then being like, dang, the only chance for my younger son is to send him off to,
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess my in-laws they are really involved in like the wilderness therapy stuff, and I've seen a lot, seen it help a lot of kids And like one of the good ones, I should say. Like I know that there's a
Sure.
lot.
But
There's a
I'm
lot
sure
of
your in-laws
yeah,
have probably done a lot more vetting on the wilderness therapy stuff than Makar did on Dunk in like
maybe
2 days of
a
knowing
lot of those
him.
wilderness therapy programs don't do that much vetting, which is where you get into issues. But like, yeah, but well vetted wilderness therapy could probably
Uh-huh.
go a long way for some Targaryens. Get them out there, get them out,
Yeah.
sleeping in some ditches, eating
Uh-huh.
some salted beef. Yeah,
Yeah, gotta have the hard salted beef.
yeah.
I think one of the themes of this show that I came away with once again was like these people in Westeros are so irresponsible. To to have like the whole royal family in this tournament where it's known that people are going to die, like this is so stupid.
Dude, that's so crazy, man. It's so crazy. Um, low key, one of the funniest scenes I thought was when the daughter was just like, "I just want you to know that I don't blame you for ruining my name day." I was like, "Oh my
Uh,
gosh, that was awesome!" Like, that was just funny. I thought funny addition.
yeah. That girl seems like she has some early Sansa Stark in her.
Yeah, yeah, I could see it. Yeah, funny
Uh,
times.
uh. So yeah, episode 6 was pretty much following action. No more big action. We're just kind of wrapping things up and figuring out what's going to happen next. And obviously the change is that Egg sneaks off instead of getting the express permission. I never I mean going looking back at the read of the book, I never got the impression at all that he didn't have permission. In fact, he must have had
I
permission
think it was
because
expressly said that he
yeah.
had permission. Yeah.
Yeah, the way that yeah, so this is a pretty big change, and I don't think it has any ramifications for the second season, at least the second season as written in the book, but it could have some pretty big changes for the third season.
Yeah, I think what they're gonna do is there's probably gonna be like a B or C plot in the next season of like somebody from um
Yeah,
somebody from the Targaryen family kind of going after them, trying to find them, trying to bring him back home. There's got to be something like that that they're setting up,
yeah, I could see that.
which is I think is could be fine because I could see wanting to tie it a little bit closer to this cast of characters that you've already established
Hmm.
with the Targaryens, because otherwise they wouldn't really have a lot to do in the second season.
Right. And several of them just die from the plague or
Yeah,
the summer
the
sickness or whatever they call it.
right. So if you have like some plot of like somebody going on and then reporting back to oh what's his name the one
Maker.
make our yeah like if you have
Hmm.
that going on and you kind of see them on screen a little bit more and there's some tension there, I think that could be a fine subplot that could add to the show.
Yeah, yeah, the second season events of the book are like completely separated from any events in the first book.
Yeah,
Third season has much more of a tie back with the Targaryens and the stuff that happens with the
yeah.
Blackfires and everything.
But I
So
think
I think yeah, it
I
makes
think
some
you would need
sense.
something to tie those together, though, just from a viewer perspective, because there's
Hmm.
going to be so long. I mean, they said yearly releases, but like even 2 years between, like if you're going, that
Yeah.
separation could kind of make a lot of people be like, "What's going on here?" You know, even if it's like one of the other sons going after them, trying to find them,
Mm.
I think that could be cool.
Well, it's definitely the Blackfire Rebellion is the history and the shadow of the Blackfire Rebellion is the through line on seasons 2 and 3. But it does make sense to have a little bit more continuity, I think.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The other thing that we talked about last episode that was kind of brought from being subtext to straight kind of text in the show, maybe not confirmed, but actually being like outright discussed, was if he was actually knighted by Pennytree or not.
Oh
And,
yeah.
it kind of raised that question to the forefront of everyone's mind with the fake out death, the Kung Fu Panda death.
Yeah, I felt like they made it almost more explicit in doing that, and I liked it being ambiguous.
Well, it's still ambiguous. I would just say it's not as much subtext anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because he was still alive after that.
Yeah, I know, but the fact that he even, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it's just more at the forefront. Like
Yeah,
they're really making this a question, but
because he could have been like, oh yeah, I haven't knighted you and I'm almost to die. Let me knight you right now. You know?
yeah, possibly. After watching the show, between watching the book and watching the show, after watching the show, I'm much more of the opinion that he was never knighted than I was after reading the book.
Probably. But again, I think that's just again, I keep using this, but bringing it from the subtext that was the book into like the forefront of the show.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a big deal, and I think it does well to hammer home the theme of the show, which is, how good of a knight are you, Sir Dunk, which was in the preview for the show, and good knights, bad knights. That's kind of the whole thing. Where is your honor? That I mean, that's a Westeros theme throughout all of the stories. But yeah, I thought it was well done.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So some interesting changes, additions, but nothing that takes away, I think, overall from the story. Maybe adds a little bit to it. Just kind of exactly what I would hope for. And I'm pumped for season two, and I'm hoping it doesn't let me down. House of the Dragon, and is it June? That's coming up. That's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah,
Getting hyped for
June.
that. Yeah.
And that first episode is going to be explosive. It's going big right off the bat.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do a rewatch of the first two seasons, starting now, pretty much.
Yeah, not a bad plan.
Yeah,
And yeah, I mean, you mentioned yearly releases. I'm pumped for that. It's funny, I saw that in some article that made it seem like such a novel thing.
I know.
You know, like, oh, yearly releases. Well, yeah, we used to do that for everything.
Have you seen that meme? It's like that meme format of like the buffed out dog and then the like little like cowering dog. Have you seen? Anyway, it was like the buffed out dog was
Oh,
like 5 to 10 million budget episodes, yearly releases, and then like the best seasons of Game of Thrones, and there was like the cowering dog like 20 10 or like 20 to 50 million dollar episodes years long between the seasons and like the worst
uh,
episodes. And man, it's just like I don't know, man. We talk about it all the time, but you just have to have a good plan. Waiting to I can't say enough. Waiting a year to even go into production on the next season, it's just criminal, man. Like just get it out there. The one thing
mm,
that does concern me, and we don't have to talk a lot about it, is the just overall state of HBO being sold to either Netflix or Paramount. Like that's still all in flux, and like all of this could be canceled at the drop of a hat, and it stresses me out so much.
yeah, I don't like the idea of especially Netflix taking over. I wouldn't be as worried about Westeros being canceled because Netflix really likes to milk stuff that they know is successful.
Kind of, but they cancel stuff all. The thing is, what's successful to Netflix isn't, you know, the metrics are just wacky, right? Like you know this,
Yeah.
but like Banks will get like 10 seasons or whatever because it's
Uh-huh.
cheap and people will watch it without, and it's fun enough that people just like will tune in and see what happens next. But like,
Uh-huh.
they'll cancel like 18.99 or whatever, like the creator from Dark
Right.
because it's
Right.
expensive and not as many people are going to watch it. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I'm not thrilled about this development at all, but it's not as much of a initial, like immediate and initial canceling. It's more of a milking, quality is worse. They do weird stuff with it, and then it like whimpers and dies a
basically
sad
Witcher,
death.
getting the Witcher treatment.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Witcher is a great analogy for this.
Yeah.
Hmm. So yeah, yeah, definitely a different discussion, but yeah, Netflix is concerning and super glad that Sanderson did not make a deal with Netflix.
Gosh. Okay. Way to go,
Uh,
Sanderson. All
yeah.
right.
All right. If you want to chat with us at Phantology about A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, Westeros, or any other sci-fi or fantasy stuff, we've covered a lot of different books, movies, TV shows, etc. You can join our Discord. Invites are on the episode description below. And until next time, Westeros fans, we'll see you later.
See ya.